Begin with a roll call of tree committee members. My name is Anthony Ladd, and I'm the Public Works Division Manager for City of Kalamazoo.
Brian LaBelle, Public Works, Forestry Supervisor.
Steve Skalski, City of Kalamazoo, Water Superintendent and Assistant City Engineer.
Deborah Nichols with Consumers Energy.
Patrick McVeary, Parks and Recreation Deputy Director.
Brian Vogel, Consumers Energy.
Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody had a good holiday. At this time, we'll go ahead and move to introduction of guests. Today, we have with us Mr. Kurt Artema, AVB.
Yes, hello everybody. I was here last month as well. Appreciate your time in bringing our request back in front of the committee. I'm Kurt Artema. I live in the city of Kalamazoo. I work for AVB. We're partnered with the Hinman Company on the 400 Rose project in Kalamazoo, and we're working on the second building of that project now, which is what we're here for today.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks.
And I believe our other guest today and our other agenda item is David, Ben. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and speak for our project. My name is Dave Beck. I'm with Tetra Tech. We're a engineering and environmental firm located here in town. We are here today to talk about the Allied Paper site where there's been some ongoing work over many years. Over the past couple of years, we've been moving that project forward, and we are getting ready to move into the next exciting step to final remedy in the coming year. And we do have some areas that we need to clear some trees to facilitate that remediation that we'll be presenting today.
Okay, thank you very much. At this point in your packet from Karen should have been the approval or the agenda for this month. Someone make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Next item, you have the minutes provided from the October 28th special meeting and the December 1st meeting. Someone make a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Okay. Next item on the agenda, I guess considered our only new business presented today is the tree removal request from Tetra Tech with Dave and Ben at 268 East Alcott Street that you alluded to. David, you want to go ahead and kind of cue this up? I have, what you've provided to the committee. If you'd like to share your screen, we can do that as well. Just whatever's going to work best for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and just share my screen. I'll just basically pull up some drawings that I'll be referring to, and I'll just describe kind of the project. So let me try this. Looks like someone needs to enable screen sharing.
Joe or Neil, can you guys make that permission?
There it goes. I've got permission now. So I guess just let me know when you can see a topo map up on the screen.
I think you're good.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, thanks, Anthony. I appreciate you facilitating, getting us on the agenda, and thank you to the committee for your time today. So as I indicated, and if you guys have the letter I submitted to Anthony previously, it gives kind of a more detailed summary of what I'll be presenting, but I'll hit the high points. So we're working on behalf of the Lyondell Environmental Custodial Trust. They are the current owner of the former Allied paper site. During the Lyondell chemical bankruptcy, that property went into an environmental trust that's managed by a trustee that's appointed by the Department of Justice. So over the past couple of years, we have been working with EPA, Eagle, and city representatives, including city engineer James Baker and Jamie McCarthy at the community development, on advancing the remedial design of the site, getting input from various stakeholders. And over the past, I would say, 3 to 6 months, we've finalized the remedial design and are looking to move forward to implementing that remedy this coming year. I guess it's this year since it is 2021. So real quickly, the address that Anthony mentioned, the 268 Elcott. So, it's the old Allied paper site, which is just south of Elcott. And then there were other portions of the Allied paper that were north of Elcott that's, I'm sure, has been discussed in this committee before with the ongoing development on the north side. So we're actually working at, the old pond that was just south of Elcott and what's currently a landfill closer to Cork Street. So this is the focus of our work area. So I'll scroll down to the next drawing. So as part of the design, we've submitted a few iterations of that to the various parties. And one of the comments that we did receive from the city, since the city did acquire the former Panelite site, which is outlined in orange here. The city acquired this, I believe, in 2018, maybe 2019, from the Michigan Land Bank. And that acquisition really was to facilitate the remedy on the property, and then also for future use of the Panelite property along with the Allied site once the remedy is complete. And the expectation is that the site as a whole will be transferred to the city of Kalamazoo for their use in the future following the remedy. So as you can see, it's a large site. There's a lot to go over, but in general, the project includes excavation of residual, paper making materials, so paper residuals and some other soils that were impacted by the related constituents, and those where excavations will be completed are shown in these black outline areas. So there's the former Bryant Mill area. There's a small area here that's the former filter plant. There's some locations on the east side of the creek that will be done later on in the program. And then all the material that's in the current landfill, this is actually all going to be excavated, pulled back. The material that is in an area that we call the Monarch Historic Residuals Drying Lagoon. So there's a, which is just behind the car wash on the hill, the Cork Street Hill, if you recall. All of that material is going to be excavated and it is going to be consolidated into a single area. And that's seen as this green outline area. So it'll be consolidated into this area, capped to prevent water from migrating through and carrying constituents. It'll be further away from the creek, and it'll also be placed above the water table again, to inhibit movement of those constituents. And the small little area that we're talking about today is, I'll zoom in now, is this area here. So this, again, this orange area is the Panelite property, which is owned by the city. This is an area where we will be doing some excavation to remove impacted soils. And those impacted soils include soils that are within the root systems of the trees. So these trees are growing in areas where these residuals were deposited over decades. So these soils will be removed. Following that removal, the edge of the consolidation area, which is this green line, will be placed in this area. So the bad soil will be taken out. We'll put some structurally sound material that'll essentially be the foundation of this consolidation area, and then from there it'll slope up at about I think 4-to-1 slope, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the area that we'll be working on city property in the coming year. We'd like to proceed with tree removals in this area within the next month or so during the winter season, before we have to start dealing with some habitat issues. So we'll facilitate those tree removals, and then this coming spring in April is when we are expecting to move forward with the mobilization of contractors and proceeding with the remedy. We did have an arborist come out to the area to do a tree survey. And that is summarized in the letter. But in general, they identified, is it 166 trees over that approximate 1 acre. Upon completion of the remedy in this area, again, it'll be a capped slope, which cannot accommodate trees, so it'll be revegetated with native grasses. But the project as a whole does include significant environmental restoration of the area. And I'll scroll on to the next drawing. So this is the restoration plan that was submitted as part of the final remedial design to the agency and stakeholders in December. And the most significant feature as part of the restoration is Portage Creek. So right now along Cork Street, Portage Creek is in a very narrow, steep channel, which is, it's an urban stream at this point. It's not natural. So as part of the restoration, we're restoring Portage Creek to what more closely represents the original stream back before the paper companies developed it in the late 1800s, actually. We do have some historical documents that show that the likely path of that creek was closer to this, and we've used some representative streams to identify proper meandering and such. So as part of that, we're going to relocate this stream, which is going to help slow it down. It'll increase some storage, and you can see the dark blue. I'm not sure if it's coming across as dark blue for everyone on, but this area adjacent to the relocated stream, that'll be new floodplain. And as part of that new floodplain there, we have specified some additional plantings that are approximately 600 plantings per acre, and that's trees and shrubs. I think the trees are equivalent to about 150 trees per acre. This is about an 8-acre area, so that that extends out to about 1,200 trees, if my math is correct. So I guess that's, when discussing, presenting the project to the tree committee and what the general expectations are in terms of, replacing or mitigation. I guess we like the project as a whole to be considered. It's going to be tough to do any sort of mitigation on the Panelite property itself, just because, this area is actually, so there's the marsh, which is a pretty decent marsh. We're not going to be disturbing that, but this vegetated area north of that marsh is actually what we refer to as the Panelite dump. There's, the old paneling and stuff that they put out there, and that in this wood stand is that. So it would be difficult to really do any sort of mitigation on that property, but the project as a whole is going to make pretty significant contributions, both to the vegetation and trees and the environment in general. And one of the most significant contributions of the project, I think, is that the fact that we're moving the waste away from that stream, we're going to increase flood storage and slow that stream down, which should have some certain down gradient benefits. So I think that's the short. I'd certainly be happy to entertain questions.
So I kind of want to recap that and make sure I understand exactly what the request is. On this map, the affected area that you're making the request for removal is just that small area right there.
Right.
To consolidate the contaminated soil, to cap it and prevent, well, one, to get it away from the creek, but also to cap it to where it's at an elevation that won't affect the water table and further contaminate soil.
Right.
And as part of this same project, you're going to restore the creek back to a more natural flow and do the plantings. Is that the 125 trees and shrubs per acre? Is that all part of this same project? I mean,
it is. Yeah, it's all part of the same overall remedial design.
okay.
Yeah. So the first year is when we'll be doing the first 3 years actually is when we're going to be doing the excavation and consolidation. It's year 4 of the project when, all of the digging and piling is completed, when we'll actually go back and we'll do our final restoration and do that stream relocation.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that, we weren't signing off on one project without, making sure we will make sure if they're tied together that both of those things will happen, that the removals will take place, but also the new plantings with the creek restoration.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And both of those or all of those things are a component of the remedial design that has been presented to EPA.
Do you mind showing that spreadsheet of the removals with the species?
Sure. The so of the tree survey, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's that summary. So by and large, it's mostly box elders that we've seen out there.
And do you have any idea? I mean, I realize that's years away, but as far as the plans go, have there been any species named for the plantings by the creek?
Yes. Yep. Right here. The following table. Yeah. So this, again, this is certainly subject to some change based on, availability at that time. But again, given that these are floodplain plantings, that's going to kind of narrow the list of what we can put in there. Just because there will be you know, essentially annual flooding of the area. So
Okay.
yeah, so these are the expected trees in particular that we expect to put out there, but and then the shrubs as well, which are, there'll certainly be far more shrubs than trees put out there.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
Do you expect the first tree removals to be actually filled with like the wood itself filled with you know, heavy metals or whatever you guys are remediating?
So initially, in February, if approved, we're actually just going to have a tree service come out and fell the trees. They'll fell the tree and, basically down to, maybe about a foot above grade. They'll fell those and chip those. And then once the mobilization happens in the spring, and when our earthwork contractor starts working in that area, they'll actually remove the stumps that are growing within the paper residuals. And we expect that, those paper residuals are within the root systems of the trees.
So will those be treated as contaminated materials or?
Yes. Yep. Tree roots, stumps, all of the materials that come out of the excavation areas will go into the consolidation area.
Okay.
Over time, does that consolidated area break down, or is it just there forever?
It's there forever. Yeah. It'll essentially be a repository of these materials indefinitely.
But I mean, from an aesthetic standpoint, the cap and fill and grass, native grasses, I mean, it's not just a lone pile. It is
Right. No. It is, it's going to be a large grass hill.
Sure.
That is very, very well could be very appealing for as a sled hill in the future,
Got to have snow to do that.
Right. Yeah. Right.
This is something we've had to deal with a couple times this year. It seems like we are kind of trading one environmental asset for another. But I think in each of those instances that have been approved, the net gain far outweighed the loss. And I think we realize that as a committee that there are other types of pollution and other ways to benefit the environment. Again, especially when you consider even from a planting aspect, all things otherwise being equal, there's a substantial gain there. Not to mention the soil efforts, the creek being restored back to its natural flow. I mean, there's plenty of other environmental benefits to point to on top of what you're proposing to replace these removals with. So I really I'm glad to see that much consideration and thought into that. I don't know if anybody else has any other feelings or different feelings, but that's kind of my impression.
Thank you.
Well, really, to be honest with you, it's probably the trees they are removing are probably part of a sort of a toxic forest. You wouldn't want someone in before, and then you take away those trees. That you have a place where whatever is going to happen with the final can be used, and then not only do you have the added benefits of the of the water being protected in the future from those chemicals leaching out. You also have all those new trees, and then you have a better floodplain, so you have less floods. You also have maybe itself, like I said, you preventing the river from being more polluted, and over time maybe it becomes less polluted. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve the tree removals as described.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, plan is approved as presented. Mr. Beck, thank you for your time, and thank you for taking the opportunity to explain this to us. And if we can be of any assistance moving forward, whether it's species selection, or if there's we got a pretty wide array of expertise here on the committee, and if we can do anything to help this project, don't hesitate to reach out.
Great. Yeah, I appreciate everyone's time, and Anthony, as we discussed before, and I did mention in the letter, I think in the coming couple of months, we're planning on getting this in front of the city site plan review folks as well. So I think there'll be a little bit more exposure more widely across the city for this project, and we'll actually be able to coordinate more closely with the various departments and committees that'll be involved in the ongoing project. So I appreciate your guys' time, and looking forward to working with the city to facilitate this project. It's going to be pretty exciting, for us and for the city as well.
Certainly. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Bye.
All right. Okay. So that will conclude all of our new business for today. The remaining two items is two matters of old business. First being 400 Rose Phase 2, tree removals with AVB. This was an item that came to committee in December. There was a site plan that was presented to the site plan committee. We try to make sure that tree committee approval for any removals are part of that site plan. So when that was presented to the site plan, was presented to the tree committee, I think we had some concerns and some comments. We wanted to take time to kind of look through this and reconvene. We did that. We had some suggestions that were made to AVB. And so now we're kind of picking this up again. I think a couple of the requests that we had from last month were additional plantings off-site, knowing the limitations of green space that exist on the space adjacent. Some assurances for the health and well-being of the trees for an extended period of time. And then I think there were some adjustments to the species selection as well, based on a couple of the trees that were outlined. Mr. Arterman, do you want to kind of go over those changes that were made to the site plan since last month?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the background information, Anthony. I think most of the changes are commitments on our part to move forward with what's been requested. And we did go through, we looked at the site for additional planting locations. As you mentioned, it's a tight urban location with the building footprint consuming most of the site, and the street right of way already filled with trees that can be planted there. And if it's helpful, I can bring back up the site plan if it would be beneficial.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's see, I need to have screen sharing ability. It looks like it's maybe popping up here. There we go. Let me pull up the screen that I had. I think I can do that. Okay. So if I pull this up here and then bring this up here to the site plan, can everybody see the site plan there?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as I mentioned, we've got a urban building design built out close to the street, sidewalk and street and sidewalk. We've got plantings noted here along the right of way that are intended to replace and add to what's proposed for removal. And then as we looked at the site, the surrounding area for locations to plant for additional trees, we found a couple of opportunities to the east. So on the drawing here, it's off the edge of the drawing, but in this area, our company owns the former Knights of Columbus property, which has a couple opportunities there. And then we are going to plan to work with some of the neighbors here to the east on plantings on the south side of Cedar Street. The north side on the east end of the block was already planted with new trees that we put in for the first building in the project, and then the one that was preserved at the corner of Rose and Cedar. And then we're looking at a few other areas on Rose Street as well to see if there's some pockets on the east side of Rose Street, which is pretty bare of trees right now. It's pretty tight right away over there. The west side of Park Street across from the project on Park is pretty well populated with some pretty mature trees. And so in consultation with our landscape architect, we thought this area was pretty full already, but we're open to ideas on where those might be planted. We just have been doing some research to see where they might go. But if the committee wanted to make recommendations in the couple of blocks around the project, we'd be happy to listen to those and consider those. But we're certainly committed to planting the 4 additional trees as requested. In regard to the 5-year warranty or an extended warranty on the trees, I did speak with our team and they're willing to make that commitment that the trees will remain healthy, and if they aren't, that they'll be properly replaced. So we can commit to that. And as it relates to the replacement of, I believe it was the calorie pear tree species that was proposed. And then Anthony, you had given us a list of alternative options. I have given that to our landscape architect and instructed them to replace the calorie pears with those within that list of species that you provided. So that is the intent, and those will be swapped out. And
Okay.
I think that covers the list of the feedback that your group provided, and certainly appreciate your time both in December and today, and then the time in between, and coming up with ideas for how we might move forward.
Certainly. You know, that really touches on the issues that we had in December. I would just say that, you know, once your building is built and you're ready to you know, move to the landscaping aspect of your project, if you could reach out to the city, I think you know, Brian would be more than happy to meet you on site, and you know, probably even beforehand we can identify and properly stake planting locations, just so that, you know, that can all be done at the same time.
Sure.
And we won't hold anybody back, and it can all be delivered at the same time and just take care of it then.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great idea, and we can certainly do that. Set up a meeting on site. Our intent, timeline-wise, our intent is to, as we finish up site plan review and the approvals process with the city, is to hopefully start construction in likely early April, and it'll be about an 18 month build time. And then as toward the tail end of that is when we would engage in the landscape process.
Okay.
And this site will involve, it'll have new sidewalks and new street parking spaces. So all those pieces we'll plan to have. Usually those are all in prior to coming back in with the landscaping so that the landscaping doesn't get damaged by the site work.
I propose we allow this with regards to letting the removal happen with the added extra 4 trees besides the other trees that he's going to be planting to be determined later by the city. And then no Cal repairs, obviously. I propose that be let it go, be approved.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. This landscaping plan is approved by the committee. As always, I certainly appreciate everybody's collaboration to, get your thoughts on this. And AVB, Kurt, thank you for, putting thought into this plan and coming back with something that works for everybody.
Sure, thank you. And again, appreciate the time and the input in the project, and we'll look forward to working with you as it moves forward. And we're excited and hope it's a nice improvement in the area in terms of new housing opportunities and new downtown residents as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving down the list. Here on the agenda, we have the Bank Street realignment project, tree species. I hate to defer on this again, but we are still working through that. I think we're all going to be excited to see that project get started and finalize the final details to that. But, I guess we're getting closer to time to where we can decide, what kind of tree species we want to end up planting. Just to kind of recap, I believe we plan on planting 3 additional tree species. It was. I can go back and check the minutes just to make sure on the number. But it's nice knowing that we have that flexibility with it being either city right of way or city Parks and Recreation Department property. Makes it nice to have that kind of flexibility. So as soon as we have an update on that, I will provide that, and certainly get with Brian and or the committee. If there's a preference for tree species, we have a lot of planting opportunities coming up. So we will be sure to provide an update on that. If there's no comment or questions on that, I'd like to move to public comments.
There were no public comments at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Moving down to committee comments. Hearing none, I guess the only update that I have is we were able to successfully complete our 2020 fall planting project, and 2020 hazardous tree removal project is wrapping up. That was a pretty seamless project. We had some really good contractors on both of those, and really look forward to repeating that next year or this year now. It's pretty exciting to see making the strides that we have coming for tree work in the city. So I will definitely be providing updates, and Brian, thank you for working with those contractors through that, kind of being an advocate for the city on site as those projects are happening to make sure that we're doing what we say we're going to do. So that's been really comforting. If there's anything else or nothing else, do we have a movement to adjourn?
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. We will be done with this meeting. And I look forward to speaking with everybody again next month.
All right.
Everybody stay healthy. Take care.
Aye.
Yeah.